Chicago Bulls come back to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 118-117 in their preseason opener. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from that game. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the key takeaways from the Chicago Bulls win against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 118-117. And so I always like to start with the main theme before we jump into the box score. And so two things come to mind out of this game. First, the Chicago Bulls really struggled with turnovers, especially early on. And so they were able to overcome that and get the win. And then next, I think the most important part here is that this team hung in there and they fought their way back to get the win. I think that that's something that this team is going to have no matter what happens during the season. And so those are the two things that really stand out from this game. Now let's go ahead and let's jump into just the individual performances here. And so I always like to start with the MVPs. And so for me, it starts with Modest Buzelis. I thought that, Modest Buzelis did a great job as far as showing just how deep his offensive bag was today. And I know it's preseason basketball, and I think that this is something where it's going to get a lot better for all of these players. But, man, I was very impressed with the way that Modest Buzelis was able to attack and get downhill. And so I know that's one of the things that he talked about was working on his ball handling. And so you get a chance to see that he was 7 of 11 from the field. He was 2 of 5 from deep, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He got 8 rebounds. He had an assist, and he had 2 turnovers. And so he was -10 in the plus-minus box score, but still had a big 19 points to lead the Chicago Bulls. Again, I think that you just get a chance to see how crafty he can be in the open floor. And so I can't wait to see when we get the entire starting 5 together. And so next, I think the next MVP on the night for me was Ayo Dosunmu. I thought that Ayo Dosunmu and the way that he came off the bench and just really just came with that energy was huge for this team today. When you just look at just what he was able to do, 12 points today. He was +7 in the plus-minus box score. He did have an assist, 2 of 2 from downtown, and he was 5 of 6 from the field. So, again, I just think that when Ayo came into the game, that just kind of helped give this team some energy and everything else. And so I just think that as preseason goes along, Billy Donovan is going to have to really ask himself, like, do you want Ayo Dosunmu to come off the bench? Would you like him to start? I mean, that's something that he's going to have to figure out, but love the energy and the effort that we got from Ayo Dosunmu. He's one of the players that I think is going to have a big season because he's extra motivated, with just coming off the shoulder surgery and everything else. But number 2, I mean, he's going into free agency, after this season. And so I think that Ayo Dosunmu is going to ball out. And so the next player that I think really stood out for me was Zac Collins. And so I thought that Zac Collins, the way that he was able to run the floor, some of the catches that he got from Yuki Kawamura and things like that, like I liked what I saw from Zac Collins today. And so he was 7 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from downtown, 16 points, -10 in the plus-minus box score, only 2 rebounds today. But what I liked about Zac Collins is just shows me that he's a player much like Trey Jones and I think Kevin Huerter, who, even though he had a tough night, which we'll talk about that in a moment, these guys are going to settle in very nicely here in year 2 for the Chicago Bulls. And I do think that he's going to have a much bigger impact on this team this season. And so it was good to see him get off to a good start. So next, just going ahead and just going through just the rest of the box score here. And so Issac Okoro, starting with him, 11 points, +8 in the plus-minus box score today. 2 of 6 from downtown and 3 of 7 from the field. And so what I liked about Issac Okoro is that, for one, he let it fly on the offensive end. And so I like that about Issac Okoro tonight. And I think that that's the type of confidence that you want to see from him, because he is going to get that opportunity on the offensive end. We already know what he can do on the defense, but I think that he can really take a huge step forward for this team if he's able to come out there and put it together offensively. And so I know it wasn't the best night for him, but I think better nights are coming. And I just like the fact that he had the confidence to shoot the basketball. Josh Giddey hit him on a nice pass. And so that was good to see too as well. And so he's going to get even more comfortable in this system. But again, I think that when you look at Issac Okoro, the big thing that he brings to this team is a defensive identity. And like I said, they fought their way back. And I think that those little things like that, that's what you get from players like Ayo Dosunmu. You get that from Issac Okoro. It's something that just kind of just goes through the whole team here. And so that is really my takeaway from Issac Okoro tonight. So I think it could be much better, but I'm glad to see that he was confident there on the offensive end. Next, just kind of going through the rest of the starters here. And so not too much from Vooch today. Preseason basketball, understandably, but I think he's going to be a huge factor for us this season. Kevin Huerter, look, he struggled tonight. He did have the 3 turnovers, and so, he's 1 of 7 from the field. And so Kevin Huerter, just the way that he finished last season, not too worried about him. And I know, again, this is preseason basketball. Josh Giddey tonight, look, he had some good passes. I love the backdoor stuff to Patrick Williams. I think he hit one to Issac Okoro as well. And so he had the 5 assists there. Just 3 points tonight. He was -7 in the plus-minus box score. Couldn't really get things going today, but that's all right. So again, just preseason basketball for us. And then Patrick Williams, man, big credit for him with the 11 points tonight. 3 assists, and he also was -12 in the plus-minus box score. But I like the fact that he got to the free throw line tonight. So 4 of 6 there, 3 of 3 from the field, and he was 1 of 1 downtown tonight. So look, if Patrick Williams can bring this type of performance just on a consistent basis here, the Chicago Bulls are going to be into some business here with him coming off the bench and playing like that. And so I liked his effort today and just really just being decisive out there. And so I like that as well. Next, just some other players that really shine for us. And so Javon Carter, 10 big points off the bench tonight, +8 in the plus-minus, 2 of 5 from downtown, and he's 4 of 7 from the field. And essentially, with Javon Carter, he actually won the basketball game for us today because he had a huge bucket towards the end. It was a tough layup and everything else, and I think that pretty much was the game there. Then you had the defensive sequence on the other end. But Javon Carter, man, just being the professional that he is. Tre Jones tonight, solid performance, 10 points, +16 in the plus-minus box score. He actually led the Chicago Bulls there, 4 of 5 from the field, and then he was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And so I love the one play where he's able to get the steal and go down and finish tonight. And so Tre Jones is going to be huge for this team. And again, I think that, this is something where if you're believing in this team taking a step forward, you have to believe in the fact that these players that came over in that trade that showed us something, last season, they now get the full season with this team. And so Tre Jones, again, this is why this team felt comfortable moving forward off of Lonzo Ball, because you have a player that gives you that settling type of effect. And that's exactly what he did. He just settled the team, again, after a tough start. And so Tre Jones coming in, making plays, tough layups and everything else. And so I just love the way that he competed out there tonight. He also had 4 steals on the day as well. So good stuff from Tre Jones. And then next, look, I liked what I saw from Noe Essengue. And so Noe Essengue, 8 points tonight, but he looked awfully comfortable out there. And so I think that this is something that I'm looking at this. He was +12, 8 points. He had 5 rebounds. He was 3 of 4 from the free throw line. So found a way to get there, and 1 of 2 from downtown tonight. And so with Noe Essengue, if he can just put together these type of performances, this reminds me a little bit of what Modest did. Like, he would show us the flashes and stuff like that. And so I know it's preseason, but can he do it in season time? That's going to be huge for us. And then also to some last mentions here. And so Dalen Terry, absolutely loved the energy tonight for him. Had a nice block shot in this one, 4 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 of 3. You can definitely tell that this is a guy that is locked in. Julian Phillips had a nice block, didn't score tonight. But again, these guys are going to be huge, I think, off the bench in moments, just with their spurts. Yuki Kawamura, look, I loved his energy, him fighting over screens and just competing hard. You could tell that. Had the 5 assists. I talked about just some great looks to Zac Collins and some of these guys. He was just kind of looking them open. He was +6, nailed a 3-point shot tonight, 1 of 4 from the field, 1 of 3 from downtown. But again, you just love the energy. You love the passing ability with Yuki Kawamura. And so just a solid effort for this team to come on back, just after again, a tough start tonight. And so just to go down into the team box score, the team stats, I should say, and look at this here. And so, a couple things really stand out with this one. And so the first thing here is just the turnovers, like I said. And so a lot of those are just some of the silly stuff that the Bulls have got to just really correct. And so 26-15 there. You see the points that were given up off of those turnovers. Good to see that the fast breaks were there for this team once they settled in. 28-17. They win in that department. And then next, when you look at just the rebounds here for the team, you'll see that it was 51-32. And so not bad there for the Chicago Bulls, able to win in that department. 72.4 to 58.3 with the free throw percentage. And then the 3-point percentage tonight, tough for both teams. 36.6 for the Cavs, 32.5 for the Bulls. Couldn't get it clicking from downtown today. And then the points in the paint, the Bulls were able to come back into that category, 58-50. Didn't start off well for the Chicago Bulls because it just seemed like the Cavs were getting anything that they wanted down low. And so anyway, a good win here for the Chicago Bulls as they were able to come back and win 118-117. We'll be talking about this win some more and just some of the key takeaways from it. And then come Thursday, the Cavs are actually going to be visiting the Chicago Bulls, and so they can go ahead and run it back. So anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what your key takeaway is from today's game. Who is your biggest standout? Who is the player that just didn't stand out enough for you? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And so look, as we always say, look, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.